Do you know?
Where there is, yeah.
Yeah. And it really is, this is another thing I'd like to be sharing with people over the next little while, is the habit of gratitude, because it's a gratitude habit that we can either nurture and nourish, or we can starve. And I mean, it's very easy to feel gratefulness if someone gives us something, a present, or they make a compliment, or something nice happens and all's rosy in the garden. It's much easier to feel gratefulness, but that gratefulness is great. But something I've learned is that it's not transformational or generative gratitude. So that, saying that, to step into that space, it's being grateful no matter what. No matter what is being grateful, because gratitude is in harmony with the frequency of the universal abundance, and that's in every area of our life. So it's that coming to whatever the situation is, looking for the seeds of some benefit, some good. What the question we can ask, what possible good could there be in this for me? What possible good could there be in this for me? And then or for others, and being aware of what comes into mind. So for me, this is like I like this idea. I love that thought, that it's because that allows us to, we can't control what's going on outside of us. We can only control ourselves. So if we can find ways of bringing ourselves into that gratefulness, power of gratitude, no matter what situation. Another little story I'd like to share with you is there was a farmer and a neighbour. Hello, Trisha's climbing up ladders.
Oh, no, my computer's about to die, so I'm just plugging in.
All right, darling. I'll wait. We'll just wait.
I can hear you. Cool.
Oh, can you? Okay. I'm speaking to the bottom.
Yeah. I think it could have been a better view of the bottom, personally.
So there was a farmer and a neighbour, pardon me, and the farmer had a farm, obviously, and 3 horses, family. One day, the young adult son left the gate open, and 3 horses got out, and they're like, "Yay, live life, the gate's open," and took off to the hills. And so the horses are gone. And the neighbour comes by and he's like, "Oh, this is so bad. This is really bad. You've got no horses, you can't plough the field, you can't do this. This is so bad." And the farmer says, "Maybe it is, maybe it isn't." Anyway, the following day, they look out and here come the horses. They're bringing 20 other horses. They've been up into the hills, met their friends, and they're bringing a herd of wild horses back. So he now has 23 horses. And the neighbour comes by and he says, "Oh, this is great. This is really good. Look, you only had 3 horses. You've now got 23. This is wonderful." And the farmer says, "Yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't." Anyway, a couple of days later, the son goes out and he thinks, I'm going to break and train these horses. So he catches one of the horses, jumps on its back. It immediately bucks him off, throws him on the ground, stomps on his leg and breaks his leg. The neighbour comes by. He's like, "Oh, this is so bad. I knew this wouldn't end well. This is really, really bad." And the farmer says, "Well, yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't." Anyway, a few days later, the army are coming through and they're looking for recruits to go into the army. And the son is the age that would be going into the army, recruited. Well, of course, he can't go into the army because he has a broken leg. So the neighbour comes by and he's glowing. Isn't this amazing? Look, your son doesn't have to go off to war. This is just so good. And the farmer says, "Well, yes, maybe it is and maybe it isn't." But it's a great little story, isn't it? Because the Dalai Lama encourages us to, whatever the situation is, to look at the bigger picture. We're only looking at a very tiny, even with what's going on now, we're only looking at a very tiny fragment of whatever. So it's encouraging us to look at the bigger picture and, like Delaney, not placing any great judgments upon whatever is happening and allowing the bigger picture. So I love that. I love that story and I love that sort of philosophy because I think that gratefulness, where we're looking for the good and it's a habit that we can cultivate and nourish and nurture like any seed. If a seed's planted and it's not taken care of, then of course it's going to wither and die. So the same with the gratitude habit. It's a habit we can nourish, nurture, and then we are constantly looking, and I'm sure that we do this to a great extent, but I want to do it more, that we can be looking no matter what the situation is. What are some of the good? What possible good could there be in this for me? What possible good could there be in this for others? What possible good could there be in this for the planet? And I can see some amazing good things for the planet, for every living sentient being upon the earth. Already I can see amazing benefits, and that's not to place any decry upon. People are suffering and people are losing, they're suffering loss and grief. Any upheaval, there's going to be pain and there's going to be loss and suffering. And the greater the upheaval, the greater the pain and loss and suffering. And it can touch any of us, and it's not to decry that. But I think along with that, we need to, as much as possible, those of us who are in that situation where we can look at what possible good and ask those questions, what possible good is there in this, and focus on those things. I think it allows